Our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, now it's a great pleasure to invite Professor Dr. Shukran bin Rahman, Dean of Healthcare Activities, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبشر صدري ويسر لي أمري وبركة لساني وقولي أمين. Thank you, Dr. Muhyiddin, for chairing the session. Our unexpected guest from University of Sarajevo, Dr. Dina Sidam Pontic, right? An associate professor in the Faculty of Islamic Studies. I'm very pleased to know that you are affiliated to an institution where our great professors was belong, and my colleagues or our colleagues are there as well. Thank you very much for deciding to deliver talk in our kuliah where Professor Fikret was here as well, where some of your colleagues were studying and relating from. Our colleagues from the Department of Sudan, and students from the school year and maybe from outside the school as well. Representative from IIIT. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right, so once again, welcome to Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Dean of Islamic Knowledge and Human Sciences. If you observe, we have a very long name in the field. Then the kuliah was originally long, kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge in Human Sciences. So that depicts the structure of our curriculum as well. This is why I'm very delighted to know that your title of presentation or your title of talk is something that we very much very much what we call that uphold here as well. So our curriculum structure is different from that of other universities which offer Islamic studies, Azhar or Madinah or Qura. Why? Because in this university, our then rector Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman wanted it to be integrated with other knowledge, with ilmu alat and with human sciences knowledge. Similarly, if you are studying human sciences, you are not studying human sciences alone, because you have to also study the Islamic revealed knowledge or the Islamic studies component. Now, this is the original formula of this kuliah, and it is there until now. Like if you are majoring in Islamic revealed knowledge and heritage, specializing in Quran or Sunnah, or also in contemporary religion or faith, you have to also learn the human sciences subjects, right? So I think your talk today will enlighten, will reinforce, and maybe will help us improve and strengthen the curriculum structure of our kuliah. Right, so Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman has left us in the year 2021, and because of that, we cement his name here in this kuliah. So this kuliah is now named after his name. Right, and then we are going to give you a book, which describes the idea, the inspiration, the thinking, the plan from the curriculum, the logistics about this kuliah. Right, so enjoy it. So thank you very much again. And this talk is recorded and made live. Many are watching at home after this, and this will be a great reference to us. Thank you very much for agreeing to share your knowledge with all of us here.
Thank you very much, Sir Shukran, for remarks. And in line with the Islamization and integration framework of Hazar KHS and also the International Summit in Malaysia, Hazar KHS organizes today's lecture, and we aim that the lecture will share the current education system in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and will address the Islamic education structure and methodology, practices in Bosnia, and we also aim to explore the need of comprehensive and effective Islamic education structure and curriculum, and to offer an open comparative discussion here to the participants. So we believe that you will also share and participate in the lecture as a question later on, inshallah. So today we are very much happy to introduce Dr. Dina. She is Associate Professor at the Faculty of Islamic Studies of the University of Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and head of the chair for religious pedagogy and religious psychology at the faculty. Dr. Dina holds 2 bachelor degrees, one of them in the academic field of Islamic theology, and another one is in pedagogy at the Faculty of Philosophy. And Dr. Dina received her master's degree in the field of religious pedagogy in 2009, and her PhD at the Faculty of Philosophy of the University of Sarajevo. And Dr. Dina spent about 1 academic year as a visiting scholar on the Junior Faculty Development Program, and that was managed and funded by the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs of the U.S. Department of State at the Kansas State University. So Dr. Dina is the author of 3 books and more than 20 academic articles in the field of pedagogy, theology, and religious pedagogy. She is a member of several professional committees and commissions, member of the Ethics Committee of the Faculty of Islamic Studies, and member of the editorial board of the journals. Without further ado, let's welcome Associate Professor Dr. Dina Sijan-Hojic Nadalevich, Associate Professor. Please welcome you too.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your great hospitality, first of all. It's my real pleasure and honor to be here. I had a feeling for a long time to come here to visit you, to see what you do here, and to learn something from you also. So I'm thankful to Allah, first of all, for getting a chance to come here. And inshallah, I hope after our meetings and those lectures, exchange of some experiences, knowledge, that we will establish maybe some further academic connections and collaborations between Sarajevo University, Faculty of Islamic Studies, and some faculties here, inshallah. So I find something very similar between Bosnian people and Malaysian people, the people that I met here. It seems that we are somehow similar in mentality. I met some people, some friends previously, and I had the same feeling. I just came here and realized it again, that we have some similarities. Thank you very much. I hope that this lecture or presentation will be useful somehow for you. We started to talk about some issues, the Dean and me. Before this lecture, we mentioned our professor, Rahmetullahi alayhi, Professor Ivan Karčić, who was also my professor. He was a great professor, teaching here also in Sarajevo. Unfortunately, he passed away. That was God's decision. We also had some colleagues here who studied here. You know, the Dean knows colleague Ait Svajic. He teaches psychology at my faculty, and Ahmed Albash also. Grand Mufti, former Grand Mufti, Reisul Ulema Mustafa Ceric doctor was teaching here. I think it was during the wartime. Yes. And who else? Yeah. They were teaching here, Professor Karčić and Professor Mustafa Ceric. So thank you very much for having me here. Could I somehow So, I'm sure that you know some things about Bosnia and Herzegovina. I just wanted to give you some short information, very short information. Have you been to the lecture yesterday? You have. But there is Professor Fatmir. He knows, I'm sure, because he comes from that region. And I immediately remembered one colleague of mine who studied with us at the Faculty of Islamic Studies, Fatmir Sezai. Yes, I can remember his name. He was studying with us. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a country with a rich history, long history, rich culture, traditions. We can find, many religious traditions there: Islam, Orthodox, Christian, Catholics, Orthodox, some Jews. There is a Jewish community there, and some other minorities like Gypsies and some other minorities like people from Poland, Slovakia, Poland. Bosnia and Herzegovina had the status of a country in 950, and the first reliable date on Bosnia defined Byzantine emperor books who mentioned Bosnia under this name, Orion Bosona, in his book under the title De Administrando Imperio. And also, Bosnia and Herzegovina had a status of kingdom from the 12th century to the middle of the 15th century. So, for those people who are trying to say that Bosnia is something that's established as a new, country, they're completely wrong. We have very firmly grounded informations and evidence that Bosnia was a country, you can see, for a long time. Of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina went through several social and political frameworks. The Ottoman state was present there. Sometimes we say Ottoman Empire, some argue that it's Ottoman state, but okay. Ottomans were there from the mid of the 15th century until the end of the 19th century, 1878, when the Austro-Hungarian Empire conquered the region of Bosnia. You see the years, and we have this period between the two world wars, the Kingdom of Yugoslavia and independent state of Croatia, and later on socialist Yugoslavia from 1990. From 1945 until 1992. Of course, you know that we were part of Yugoslavia, of the former Yugoslavia, and when Bosnia and Herzegovina declared its independence in 1992, then the war started, war of aggression and genocide over Bosnian Muslims in Srebrenica. Of course, we have so many people who were killed, murdered in other cities, but unfortunately genocide was not recognized in some other cities. The war stopped under the Dayton Peace Agreement in 1994 in Ohio, in the United States. And we have two entities, the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republic of Srpska. I don't know whether you understand this context. Some of you maybe understand well. But Serbs are people who, attacked, Serbian army attacked Bosnian Muslims and Croats also. So it was for us unacceptable to have two entities after the war that we have Republic of Srpska, but we can, it's there. And some Muslims live also in Republic of Srpska, but under very hard conditions, you can say. I will give you just little, very small example that shows some very big things. Recently, we organized a conference at the Faculty of Islamic Studies, and we were marking 30 years of existence of Islamic religious education in Bosnian public educational systems. And I told it this morning, I asked, as organizer of the conference, I asked one religious teacher to do interview with religious teachers that work in Republic of Srpska. So she has done good research and presented results, some results. She explained, but she had to explain very sensitively, you know, because some other people were hearing those stories. She explained it very sensitively. She told, as a religious teachers, we have good status. We are paid by the entity of Republic of Srpska, we have salary and so on. But when it comes to the classes, the schedule actually enables, makes problem for pupils and students to attend those Islamic religious classes. For example, if students finish with the classes at 12 o'clock, in their schedule, Islamic religious education is in the late afternoon, so they are unable to attend Islamic religious classes. You know, it's very easy to put that in the schedule late. So for someone who doesn't know the context, he could think that Muslim parents don't send their kids to Islamic religious education classes. Actually, they don't have opportunity. Those kids have buses who leave, for example, at 12:30, and they cannot wait. There is no option to wait until 4. And you know, and she showed us one drawings that one child drew on the first class on Islamic religious education. I will show you later on that in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have Islamic religious education in primary and secondary schools, started from the first grade in primary school, first grade. But in the Republic of Srpska, we have those classes from the second grade. It means they don't have contact with Islamic religious teacher in the first grade. So when Islamic religious teacher came for the first time in the second grade, he asked those small kids to draw, something that they like. And one child drew big cross flag of Republic of Srpska, most, and some other things. What does it tell us? It tells us that those young kids, small kids, are very influenced, and there is a tendency, to indoctrinate them, to make a pressure, to assimilate them. And we could see what Islamic religious education means in the public educational system. If they don't have that contact, what would happen? So, of course, there are some other problems. It's not easy to send kids to the schools, especially when it comes to the females, in high school, mix. And it's not easy. And there are some people who provoke those Muslims who are attacked sometimes and so on. Yes, it is under Bosnia and Herzegovina as a state. We have one state and two entities and district Brčko. So recently, colleague Fatmir, he knows well that we have very, critical situation now, because they say recently that they will separate from Bosnia and Herzegovina, that they will be separated. And it started, they want independence, and especially because of this situation between Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. And we have these days those processes, problems, and political, very critical political situation. Inshallah. Bosnia and Herzegovina is home to three ethnic constituent peoples: Bosniaks, Serbs, and Croats. And as I told, we have some smaller groups, including Jews and Roma, Gypsies. About 51% of the population are Muslims, Bosniaks. Okay. But unfortunately, these days, we have many and more people from Bosnia and Herzegovina who are leaving the country, going to the Western European countries to work. And it's a problem for us, huge problem. I think the whole process started several years ago. For our people, especially educated people with, qualifications, good competencies, it's very easy to get work permission to go to Germany, to Slovenia, to Austria. And people are leaving. We are afraid that we will be, without so many people, Muslim people in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Who knows? But people also who have good jobs in Bosnia and Herzegovina, doctors, professors, engineers, they are leaving country because of the money, because of the maybe social system that's much more security and so on. We are speaking about this structure of Islamic religious education in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have higher Islamic educational institutions. The oldest is the Faculty of Islamic Studies, established in 1997. I will be talking more about this later on at the end. We have also two other Islamic pedagogical faculties established during the war. And we have madrasas. We have now 7 madrasas. One madrasa is recently opened in the entity of Republic of Srpska in Banja Luka. Yeah, in 2020. We have also mektebs. Mektebs are schools attached to the mosques, and mostly imams, muallims teach kids their, basic Islamic knowledge. And we have also Islamic religious education in state kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. But when it comes to the kindergartens, we have only Islamic religious education in Sarajevo. It's a kind of pilot project. It started in 2008. We don't have Islamic religious education that's systematically organized in other cities. So I will talk a little bit about mektebs. And first of all, please tell me how much time do I have. Islamic religious education in mektebs is very important. Today, mektebs are often used for the purpose of basic Islamic religious education, and it is organized under the Islamic community in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's non-formal Islamic education organized by the Islamic community in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Mostly imams, muallims, especially, in the local area, they teach kids. But in cities, in some mekteb centers, larger centers, we can also find some female teachers, muallimas, who teach kids. We advocate more female teachers to teach in mektebs. I'm very involved into many projects of the Islamic community in Bosnia and Herzegovina when it comes to the Islamic education in madrasas, in mektebs, in this confessional religious education. So I'm trying to contribute somehow to those processes and those projects. At the time of the Ottoman state or Ottomans in Bosnia and Herzegovina, classes in mektebs were held in Turkish and Arabic language. And it is predicted that during the Ottoman rule in Bosnia and Herzegovina that we had over 1,000 mektebs. But when it comes to the Syrian mektebs, they almost stayed the same until the end of the Austro-Hungarian reign. We had some reforms in 1893, but I would like to mention this name, Grand Mufti Reis Ulema Jamaluddin Efendi Çavuşevich. Have you heard of him, Professor Fatmir? Reis Ulema Jamaluddin Çavuşevich. Jamaluddin Çavuşevich, Rahmetullah Alayh, he was a great scholar. He was under the influence of Muhammad Abduhu and Afghani. He met them in Egypt, even though he was studying in Istanbul at that time. He met Muhammad Abduhu, and he was he called Muhammad Abduhu Ustaz Muhterem, respected Ustaz, professor. He was under the influence of Abduhu. So he did great things when it comes to the reforms in Bosnia and Herzegovina related to mekteb, madrasas, and so on. First of all, when he returned to Bosnia and Herzegovina, he observed the processes, and he stated that the situation in mektebs and madrasas was very bad at that time, and he urged for some reforms. Of course, traditional ulema, conservative ulema, they were opposing, to him, to his reform ideas, new ideas. First of all, he wanted to translate those Ilmi House textbooks into Bosnian language, native language. But some of them said, no, you can't do that because this is Lashki, it's non-Muslim language. Muslim language is Arabic language, is Turkish language. This is not Muslim language, and it was our native language. But he managed, during his time, some Ilmi House textbooks for mektebs and madrasas were translated into Bosnian language, but he found a solution for that. They were written in Arabic language, but the meaning was in Bosnian. It is called Arabica. We find something similar in Turkey, letters are Arabic letters, and the meaning, the language is Bosnian language. So it was kind of solution how to overcome these oppositions and so on. Very vast. And what else I would like to say? He was urging that Muslims should educate female kids, because there was a change of government from Muslim government to Christian government. And many Muslims were afraid to send, especially female girls, to schools. So they resisted on that. They left them home. And he told, no, they should be educated. They should work. We should have female teachers. We should have female doctors. We should have female professors, and so on and so on. And he had right. We will see later on what was going on during the communist time. I told it in the morning. During the communist time, mostly teachers were Christian or atheists. We had few Muslim teachers and professors. He predicted that, he urged Muslims to educate kids, boys and girls. At that time, we are talking about 100 years ago, kids were punishing in mektebs, in madrasas, physical punishment. And it is something that is completely different from the position, Quranic position, Sunnah position of the education government. We should promote this encouraging, positive way of, educating, upbringing, with a lot of mercy, nice words, advising, and so on. So there is a story about this. it is reported that once he visited one mekteb, and he was visiting mektebs to see how the teaching is going on. What are the processes? And he was visiting those classes and mektebs with one pedagogue. At that time, he was pedagogue, very famous pedagogue in Sarajevo Gymnasium schools. And when they arrived in one mekteb, he saw palaka. Palaka. Do you know what is palaka?
Yes.
Palaka. It's say, stick.
Stick
Stick to beat. But not only the stick. There was a stick, wooden or metal, and there was a, please tell it, right? Something like this. Rope. Yes, rope. You know, and it was like this. There was a stick and rope, and kids' foot would be, you know, inside, tight, you know, and Mualim would beat that child on feet. It is falaka. And when he saw that falaka in Mekteb, he asked the teacher, why is that there? And he told, you know, we are using this for that and that. And he told him, you should immediately remove it. And Mualim replied, but there was a person from the Austro-Hungarian government visiting me here, and when he saw that, he asked me about that. I explained why do we use that, and he told, okay. Ceausescu replied, they don't care, you know, about it. So immediately you should remove it. After that time, physical punishment was limited and expelled from the mektebs and madrasas. Unfortunately, it was practiced among muallims, teachers, parents, and so on. So he did great things when it comes to the improvements of the curriculum in general and those practices. He introduced the salaries for muallims. They didn't have salaries. People would bring some, you know, corns and wood and something, you know, to give to, because they didn't have salary. But he organized, he introduced the salaries. A great person, great scholar at that time. During the communist regime, after 1945, religious education of Mekteb children was stifled and closely controlled. This morning I told some people that I am the last generation that experienced that. I explained when I was going to the Mekteb during the weekend and someone would tell my teacher in primary school, Dina went to the Mekteb during the weekend. She would immediately give me grade 1, unsatisfactory in math, in language, in, you know, whatever. She forced us to write down Arabic letters, to recite Quranic surahs. We were beaten every day, and all kids were Muslim kids. Until one day when my mom came to the school, and she never done that after my mom is to school, and she told me that she will have a problem if she continues with that practice. But it was just before the today we have around 2,200 mektebs in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in Bosnia communities in Europe and North America, Bosnian diaspora. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people who left Bosnia during the war as refugees in the United States. We have some people who left before the war, but many of them during the war and after the war time. So we have Bosnian communities around the world, and we educate also imams at our faculty who will be going in those Bosnian communities and serve as imams and muallims and religious teachers. According to some reports of the Islamic community, we have around 81,000 children from 6 to 15 attending mektebs classes. not all kids are going to mektebs, especially in urban areas. In Sarajevo, we have some data about 40% of kids attending mekteb classes, and the rest don't attend mekteb classes. It means religious education in public school is very important because mostly kids take those classes in public schools. Otherwise, they wouldn't get Islamic religious education. The curriculum is defined by levels and now includes 3 levels of mekteb. First level for the age between 6 and 8, second level 9 to 11, and third level from 12 to 15. We have subgroups and so on and so on. These are new textbooks. I was reviewer and I was in the committee when we were choosing materials for those in-house textbooks. They are new from 2020. I'd like to show you these data. We have developed master thesis in the faculty on this topic, research on the influence of religious education, the values and behavior of pupils in Sarajevo schools. But in one part of this master thesis, we compared the influence of Islamic religious education in schools on the values of students and the influence of mektebs when it comes to the, performing religious rituals. So we got very interesting data. You can see. The third one, orange part, is the influence of mekteb. The highest influence is of mekteb when it comes to Islamic values. Yes. And after that, parents, and after that, Islamic religious education in schools. It means, and after that comes internet, classmates, social media, and so on. We are happy to receive those informations because it shows that religious education has a very high influence on kids, on Muslim kids, mekteb, families, and Islamic religious education in public schools. Much more influence than internet, than when it comes to Islamic values. And we also compared the influence on performing religious rituals such as, fasting, praying, salah, and so on. And the influence of mekteb is stronger in that sense. It's not only up to the Islamic religious education in school and teachers. It's not up only to them. It is because parents who send kids to mekteb, expect that they develop those habits of performing religious rituals. But those parents who don't send kids to mekteb, they don't expect that, even in the school. There is a difference among parents and their attitudes. You can see this data. School attendance in relation to the child's place of residence, Sarajevo canton. Around 40%, less than 40%, are not attending mekteb, actually are attending mekteb, and 70 and 60% don't attend mekteb. It is in the city, but in a suburban environment areas, it's almost half-half. 50% goes to the mekteb, 50% don't go. Areas for improvement in mektebs. Since I was a member of that committee, professional team, I suggested with my professor some things to be improved in mektebs. We need educational program for preschool kids in mektebs. We don't have that organized and official form, and we should have that. Because for parents who would like to send their kids, for example, age 4 to 6, they don't have official program and they don't know how to work with those kids. And it's important to send them to the mosque. We don't have that, unfortunately. And I suggested this. I told this to this in the Islamic community. If authorities, educational authorities in Sarajevo knew this fact, they wouldn't allow Islamic religious education in kindergarten. You know, it's unlogical that you ask to have Islamic religious education in kindergarten, aged 4, 6, until 6, and you don't have it developed officially and formally in the Islamic community. So it went well at that time, in 2008, but still we don't have a program for preschool kids in Methodist. Also, we have to have educational program for high school students and youth. We have to have a structured program to work with youth and high school students. Method, as you could see, is only for kids primary school age. When they finish, we have some, youth program, but it's not that systematic and well structured. We have to have more female teachers, muallimas. I insisted on this, muallim, muallimas, with slash, and they accept it. It is in the curricula, it is in the textbooks, muallima, muallimas. Okay, and greater number of students attending actives. Some areas for you. When it comes to Islamic religious education in madrasas, Professor Enes Karic, very prominent professor, in his book Contributions to 20th Century Islamic Thought in Bosnia and Herzegovina, he has wrote that the madrasa has 4.5 centuries been the greatest guarantor of our religious survival. It stands on the borders of the past and the present, and was required to adapt itself to changes through which Bosnia passes. It stands on the east, between the east and the west. And that's true. Madrasa is a very important institution for our religious identity, for shaping our religious identity, Islamic religious identity. The first madrasa, Firuz Bey Madrasa, was established in between 1505 and 1512 in Sarajevo. At that time, according to the relevant literature and data, we had around 400 madrasas. 400 madrasas, and teaching was performed in the traditional way. Curriculum was based on textbooks. We had the system of halqa, but maybe it was a good system. Who knows? For talented people, they could go through those halqas very quickly. Now we have in modern educational system those classrooms according to the age, and kids, for example, could speak. Some kids could speak very good English in the first grade of primary school, but they have to wait, and they cannot go forward. They are on the first grade, and they are waiting for the next content. It is maybe interesting for you to mention here that during the Austro-Hungarian Empire, almost Bosnian madrasas also existed. Maybe the less number of madrasas, and also the institution of Reisul Ulema, Grand Mufti, was established at that time in 1882. Of course, what was the intention of the Austro-Hungarian government? Why this was important for them to establish the institution of Reisul Ulema at that time in Bosnia? Just to separate, Bosnian Muslims from other Islamic centers, from Istanbul, from Egypt, to have it under somehow under the control. More than 14 madrasas existed at that time. some reforms were conducted in some of these schools, and you can notice that secular worldly school subjects were introduced in some madrasas. And this is important, that at that time we introduced some secular courses. We will see the changes later on. Around 18 madrasas after the First World War, some of them were damaged, destroyed. And during the communist time, all madrasas that existed at that time were closed by force, with the exception of Gazipur Rebbe Madrasa in Sarajevo. It is the only madrasa which has been continuously working since its establishment. It is the oldest madrasa in Bosnia and Herzegovina in general. It was established in 1537. The only madrasa that was existing at the communist time, during the communist time. And there were many changes in the curriculum. You know, we had to adjust Islamic religious education in madrasas at that time. It was very turbulent time. So you can see in 1938, the schooling in madrasa lasted 8 years. From 1961, it lasted 5 years. And what was bad for us and gave us less chances is that those secular subjects were removed, that were introduced during the Austro-Hungarian. They were removed from the curricula. So graduates of madrasa couldn't enter any faculty, any secular faculty, philosophical faculty, medical, no. They couldn't enter any faculty when it comes to the humanities or social studies. So at that time, I think it was the generation of Professor Ahmet Karčić, Professor Karić, and some other prominent professors. They were telling us that they were protesting in front of the school. They were demanding to have more courses, more subjects. And maybe it was the first time that students asked, you know, to have more subjects, more courses. And now they are joking with that. Students now are protesting to have more courses and have more pages. They are counting pages. And at that time, students were protesting and they demanded to have more courses, have more courses. But they were highly motivated, really. It was specific time. They knew that they don't have any possibilities, opportunities to develop their capacities and so on, to take some important positions. So they protested. And it had some good results at the end. From 1981, the schooling in madrasa is 4 years, and it is now also 4 years. During the war period, you can see the war period, very hard time, people were motivated. Bosnian Muslims were motivated, and they started to reopen some madrasas. Because during the communist time, our religious identities were oppressed, you know. And when we declared the independence, freedom of religion, we started to re-establish madrasas, even though it was very, very hard time. And 5 other madrasas were established during the wartime. Another one, the recent one, is from 2020 in Republic of Srpska and Ukraine. This is also interesting to show that in 1993, during wartime, 70% of the curriculum was allocated to the Islamic field of knowledge, and 30% belonged to other fields of knowledge, for example, languages, natural sciences, and so on. And you can see that curricula. But at that time, graduates of madrasa gained professional titles of imams, hatibs, and muallims, which enabled them to work as imams, you know, and muallims. When they finished high school, madrasa, they were able to work as imams. Now it's different. Now they are demanded to pursue higher Islamic education. They cannot work anymore with high school, graduating from madrasa, and to work as imams. Now they have to graduate, you know, some higher Islamic education. studies. In 2004, we have just the opposite allocation when it comes to the curricula. Now, we have 30% of subjects from Islamic field and 70% of subjects that belong to other fields of knowledge. You can see Islamic field of knowledge, 30%, and languages, social sciences, such as history, geography, philosophy, psychology, and so on. Natural sciences, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, and multidisciplinary field of knowledge, information technology, physical and health education, democracy, human rights, and so on and so on. So we have now this situation. This is important that we did this reform because, to be honest, madrasa graduates are much prepared, better prepared to enter other secular universities. Of course, they can enter Islamic faculty, but they can enter all other faculties, all other universities. This gives better opportunities for madrasa graduates. Madrasas nowadays are the secondary Islamic educational institutions organized around a group of Islamic disciplines in addition to courses in humanities, sciences, social sciences, and multidisciplinary field of knowledge. They accept kids or students aged 14 until 18, and we also have dormitories. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, dormitories, after schools, accommodation, and religious educators work with students, helping them, to develop some Islamic habits and help them with teach, learning, and so on. And we have also the newest process of curriculum reform. We have finished that process in 2021. I was also a member of that professional team who was observing the process of the curriculum reform. I'll show you just some things from the recently reformed Bosnia curriculum. It was for the first time that teachers who teach in madrasas were included into the reform. Previously, professors who are working at the university level were doing those reforms. They were prescribing literature, topics, and so on, and it was not good. They put a lot of reference in literature, academic in madrasa education, and the kids were over, burdened. So we initiated that teachers should be included into that process. And so we call that process research-based reform of madrasa curriculum. We did some research also during the whole process, SWOT analysis of priority areas of change, but they identified those areas of change. Teachers and management of madrasa, they identified. We didn't identify. They identified. We just did research. We helped them to collect those data. So we had also some other research, in-house trainings for madrasa staff. We were visiting madrasas. We were advising them. We did some, seminars, workshops, and so on for them. And also we compiled a document under the title Guidelines for Designing and Evaluating the Madrasa's Curriculum. They had that document in front of them when they were discussing about the processes of reforms. So we were helping them to do those reforms, better, maybe better, as a professional. So this document guidelines for designing and evaluating the madrasa curriculum contains some of the elements. They were looking into that, they were filling out those components because they missed some of them. And they are very important part of the curriculum structure. Teaching plan and program. can see the previous teaching program was oriented only on the content, and literature. But now we wanted to develop some other elements. We wanted them to plan learning outcomes, to plan teaching methods, to involve them, evaluation methods, correlation, integration among courses from different fields. You know, we wanted them to develop those elements, additional elements that belong to the curriculum, and they didn't have them previously. Correlation. Someone is taking photo. I will get back to that slide. Excuse me. You will see some. Yeah, I just came up with some illustrations. You can see now we offered kind of syllabi curriculum, and they should develop their courses according to this format. So it helped them. Status, quiz professor, correlation and integration of subject with other school courses. They should predict which courses could correlate to their courses. Learning goals, expected competencies that will be developed, teaching units, learning outcomes, teaching methods, teaching forms, obligations and participation of students in the teaching process, evaluation methods, and grading structure. It should be developed, and it was developed, and literature at the end. References. Other issues that raised during the research-based curriculum reform, madrasa curriculum differentiation. You know, this is very important question because previously we were working under unified curriculum. All 6 madrasas were operating under unified curriculum. There was no difference between them. And we as a team, 3 of us, suggested, that some madrasas, for example, could strengthen natural field of knowledge, natural sciences, of course, Islamic disciplines, and that core of knowledge stays the same. 30% of that knowledge should be incorporated into curriculum. But when it comes to other fields of knowledge, we could strengthen some madrasas in languages. Maybe one madrasa that would be, you know, the best for languages, another one for natural sciences, and so on. And we suggested that not all of them should make all these great changes. Maybe 1 or 2 of them just to start to experiment. But, you know, people are a little bit afraid. They don't want to change their practices. It was something very challenging for them. And 3 madrasas opted to stay the same, to work on the same way, without no changes when it comes to the structure of the curriculum. Some of them opted for some change, and I would say that it is I have the experience, I have insights. The best madrasa, they wanted to do some changes, and they did some changes in terms of natural sciences. They strengthened that field, natural sciences, and other stayed almost the same. It's small changes. And another question is integration among Islamic and other fields of knowledge. How it goes? Do we have real integration? So we analyzed. When I was giving some lectures to professors in madrasas, and I was talking to the management of madrasas, I was explaining, and of course, in the office of the Islamic community, I was explaining them that we could have differentiated curricula. It should not be the same. And I came up with this Said Hussein Nasir. Quote, Islamic education should be designed in such a way that encourages diversity and decentralization of curriculum planning, teaching approaches, ideas, and educational practices. The classical educational system offered vast possibilities to madrasa teachers to create and redesign curricula respecting specific features of culture and social conditions. You know, we all accept the idea of the diversity within unity, you know. But it enables us to have differentiated educational practices, curricula, ideas, creative ideas, and so on. So we did some small steps when it comes to this differentiation. They opted for this option to have the possibility for differentiation from 7 to 15%. It's not a lot, but it is something new, you know, something new could happen. And on this trace, Madrasa in Tuzla, this is very, you know, small, but I will explain you. Only Madrasa in Tuzla opted for natural field of knowledge to be, you know, widened. Okay. Where it come? It's training. Wow. MashaAllah. Turkish people would say MashaAllah. In Bosnia we say unfortunately very better. People say better, it's very better. But Turkish people say MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Yeah, here it is unpredictable. When it comes to the correlation, integration of Islamic courses with courses from the humanities and social field, I am showing you those examples. This is something new, but they had to think how to incorporate, you know, pick, for example, pedagogy, psychology, akhlaq, or biology. You can see, pick for imams, third grade, they predicted correlation between Islamic field, akhlaq, hadith, qira'ah, Islamic history, tafsir, aqidah, and biology, mathematics, medicine, ecology, and social fields of sociology and democracy. And they would choose some topics, teaching units that could correlate. Of course, this is blend. We suggested them to teach some teaching units together. For example, two teachers teach in pairs. Professor of Fiqh and professor of biology, or professor of chemistry or mathematics, they choose one unit, teaching unit, and teach together. They prepare themselves together and teach together. We should start with that practice. It's our suggestion, and I heard that some of them started with this. This is something new, you know, all of them, you can see Tafsir, Fiqh, Qira'ah, Aqidah, they should think about the correlation and integration with other disciplines. I found only one example that says something about, you know, that it is integrational. It is, I think, in the field of chemistry subject. This is the teaching unit. The origin of the name chemistry, the contribution of the Arabs to the development of science, and halal food. Only two teaching units in this natural field of knowledge, in the biology that is integrational. And what do you think? Why do we have this situation that we find only some examples, few examples that are really integrated in the teaching units, in Islamic field of knowledge? Why? Because the ministries of education, we have decentralized system, they prescribe curriculum, the content, the ministries of education. So we cannot find so many topics that are integrated with Islamic field of knowledge. But we suggested them. First of all, we suggested to the office, the Islamic community, that they should advocate for more autonomy at the ministry, in the Ministry of Education. They should advocate for more autonomy. We should struggle for that. Another thing that we suggested to teachers, to teach together, to find some teaching units and to teach together, to start with that. And at the same time, to struggle for more autonomy in the ministries of education. When it comes to the pedagogy, I have found, when it comes to the references, it's general pedagogy course. I have found 2 references related to Islamic pedagogy. But it is university literature, University. Pedagogical plan and program of work in madrasas dormitories. Preserving the key Islamic values and practicing the Islamic way of life based on the Quran and Sunnah, practicing the Hanafi mazhab in fiqh and the Maturiya Aqidah, and the acceptance of Allah's Messenger Muhammad alayhi salam as a model spiritual growth. It's the main goal of education in madrasa. So they are trying to develop those values in accordance to these goals mentioned above. Of course, there is a possibility for practical integration of Islamic and other fields of knowledge when it comes to the dormitories and working with students in dormitories. They could practically integrate those fields of knowledge. I have done research in madrasa for my master thesis under the title Self-Evaluation of Education Process in Madrasa, but it was a long time ago. But I have found when it comes to the dormitories that kids, students there, they don't like the organization of learning in madrasa. There are, some specific times in madrasa for learning, predicted for learning. And they learn all at the same time on the same place. We were learning at that day. And students don't like it. They urged for better organization of learning in madrasa dormitories. So there are some changes. Sometimes nowadays they could learn from different places. Of course, it takes more attention of educators there. They have to go around, they have to observe, they have to motivate them, but it gives better school achievements. When I was in Montenegro, colleague Fatih, I was in Montenegro visiting one madrasa and in Albania. And I was telling them that in the United States, I saw many different libraries. And they know much more about learning styles, and they appreciate it. So some of us would like to prepare learning, when we hear. Some of us prepare learning when we see something, visual learning, reading learning. We have that, classification: visual, audio, reading, and kinesthetic style of learning. And I saw those different libraries that support different learning styles. At the Kent State University in Ohio, for example, they have classical libraries, reading rooms, but they have also reading rooms that are much more comfortable with the, some green and flowers and music behind and so on. Very comfortable to learn. And for those students who would like to learn in that environment, they go there and choose to learn there. They have also one room. It was prepared and done in the name of students who were killed in front of the university at the time when American Army were bombing, Vietnam, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At that time, they were protesting in front of the university, and many students were killed at that time. So they built a room, a memorial room. It's a kind of reading room now. There is a silence, real silence. For those who need good concentration, they go there. So, and I was telling this in one of the madrasa in Montenegro, Albania, and the director of the school approached to me and he told, I would like to, to organize those reading rooms, different rooms. And they did that. Now they have different reading rooms, and I'm very happy because I saw them. I think 2 years ago I saw those libraries. Madrasas graduates attend or enter higher educational institutions, and we are proud that you can see only one data from Tuzla Madrasa. From 865 graduates, 728 continued their education at a higher education institutions in the country and abroad. A great number of them continue, mashallah, with higher education. This is graduation ceremony. We have that ceremony every year. All graduates from madrasas, from all madrasas, come to Sarajevo, to our faculty, and we give a speech to them, we advise them. Not all of them will enter our faculty, but they will enter other faculties and so on. But they come to our faculty, to meet us. It's healthy now. We have internet. See higher education, Islamic education. I would like to show you a short video. It will be better at this moment than to talk. Here it is. I think it will be better now to watch this short video about the higher Islamic education and faculty of Islamic studies. It's short. I will wait for the connection. We need to share this. Let's just do it.
The Faculty of Islamic Studies at Sarajevo is one of the most prestigious institutions of Islamic higher education. It opened in 1977 and one of the spiritual foundations of the Sharia which was established in 1887, and the Higher Islamic Sharia Theological School, established in 1947. Architecture of the building and the overall environment of the plant, together with the current programs of study, show the harmony being established between traditional and modern Islamic sciences and between Eastern and Western cultural values. The study programs are taught by staff who are part of their knowledge of now philosophy and international universities. Since the 2013-2014 academic year, the Faculty of Islamic Studies Sarajevo has, in accordance with the Islamic process, established 3 cycles of study. The first cycle offers 3 distinct programs of study: Islamic theology, Islamic religious education and pedagogy, and education program for imams, the TU cycle. The second cycle, master's degree, offers 4 different programs of study: Masters in Islamic Studies, Masters in Islamic Studies, Islamic Europe, program in the exchange, Masters in Islamic Interreligious Studies. The third cycle offers a unique program of study in Islamic sciences. The first cycle leads to the completion of undergraduate studies. If students complete their studies in the Department of Theology, they are awarded the title Bachelor of Theology. If students complete their cycles in the Department of Religious Education and Pedagogy, they are awarded the titles of Bachelor of Islamic Religious Education and Pedagogy. Each of these first cycle programs lasts for 4 years and is valued at 240 ECTS credits in accordance with the European Credit Transfer System. On successful completion of the 3 years of education for economics, institutes, and law, which are valued at 187 credits, students are awarded the title of Bachelor of Economics. Second cycle of study leads to the academic titles of Master of Islamic Studies, Master of Economics, and Master of Interreligious Studies and Peacebuilding, which are required after completing the graduate students. Depending on the study program completed, the second cycle lasts for 1 or 2 years and is valued at 60 or 120 ECTS credits, which, together with the first cycle of studies, amounts to 300 ECTS credits. The program in the English language focuses on the academic treatment of Muslim presence in Europe. This is the most important step and a major breakthrough so far in the process of international learning. The third cycle leads to a doctoral degree in Islamic studies. It is acquired after the completion of doctoral studies lasting for 3 years and is valued at 180 ECTS, or a total of 480 ECTS credits, together with university credits. Only students who have completed Islamic studies apply to the program for economics, institutes, and law. While the programs for Islamic theology and Islamic religious education and pedagogy are open to both madrasa graduates as well as 4 years secondary graduates with very good or excellent grades. Candidates are named to the faculty on the basis of success achieved during upper secondary education and their results in relevant competitions. Connecting East and West is one of the main principles of the educational philosophy of our faculty. The Faculty of Islamic Studies in Sarajevo has always made special efforts to internationalize its content and activities, as well as to develop and improve international cooperation. Faculty has been host to significant international scientific conferences and an indispensable staff with professors, lecturers, and other important personnel, but also for students and guests who are following. On the path to raising the University of Sarajevo's international The faculty initiated a cooperative agreement with Shenandoah University of Virginia and the International Islamic University. The faculty is located in buildings on Community Center in Moorish Center and offers optimal conditions for student learning and numerous extracurricular activities. Faculty provides its students with space-based lectures, seminars, and exercises in modern classrooms equipped with multimedia technology and an accessibility. Between classes, students can study or relax in the historic atmosphere of the small launching. There's also a library and a reading room where literature is shared for all pieces of study found in Bosnian, Arabic, Turkish, English, and German. Our library continuously purchases recent works and up-to-date editions of all important texts. The Islamic Community Student Center, built in the vicinity of the faculty, provides outstanding accommodation for students in all three study stages, fitting in well with the ambiance of the old church. This five-floor modern architectural building has an area of 4,745 square meters, 202 beds arranged in 59 air-conditioned rooms, modern and well-equipped kitchen and restaurant, library and reading room, multimedia hall, sports field, and recreation facilities, which offer an additional advantage to students who choose the faculty and science. The number of candidates admitted to the faculty of Islamic Studies is in line with the employment prospects within and outside of Bosnia, which is of particular concern to the Directorate for Education and Science under the website of the Islamic Community in Bosnia. We work consistently and constantly to increase competencies of our graduates, but also to secure new jobs inside and outside of the Islamic community. As a permanent member of the University of Sarajevo since 2013, the Faculty of Islamic Studies is open to other important projects that contribute to positive representations of Islamic community. In accordance with the adopted higher education development strategy of the Islamic community, the faculty will work on permanent harmonization of the curriculum with the needs of the Islamic community, Bosnian Muslim and wider community. Establishing closer cooperation
İzlem medrese, İslam medrese.
as well as with other institutions of the same kind, both in Nigeria and abroad. Continuous improvement of quality of work and excellence in all processes and segments of activity. By enrolling in the Faculty of Islamic Studies in Sarajevo, our students gain an opportunity to successfully continue their education with the help of our renowned professors in comfortable surroundings and scholarly areas. The education students receive at this faculty contributes to the overall activity of the Islamic community, as well as to the general development and progress of our society.
Welcome. We are welcoming you. Thank you very much. I hope that you were able to hear well.
Yes.
It comes to the sound. You can see that we have, it was damaged during the war. Yeah, very damaged. The construction was in 1998. We are the full member of the University of Sarajevo from 2014. And maybe this is important to show that we have three departments: Islamic theology, religious pedagogy, and department for training imams. Of course, we have all levels of study: undergraduate, postgraduate, master, and PhD. And these are academic and professional fields, which we offer some comparative religion, Islamic philosophy, civilization. Tarbiyah is religious pedagogy, psychology, Arabic language, and philology. Okay. These are some courses, but we have problem with sound, but okay. At this moment, we have around 500 students. You can see 24% are female students, and the rest are male. At the master level, we have around 120, 35% of them are females. And at the doctoral level, we have 19 students, 3 of them are female. In total, we have around 600 students at all levels. Faculty staff, we have full-time professor 10. Excuse me, students. Because I can hear the sound. It's very hard to speak. It seems it's better. Okay, you can read from this slide. We don't have that much, people. We are small, but trying to do some things. Now it's fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I will show just some activities, practicum, public schools, Diploma in Islamic Studies certificate program. You didn't mention that you had this program here, and it started, I think, during the time of Professor Kačić here, Diploma in Islamic Studies. He came with this idea to Sarajevo, and we started with this program as well. And we offered this program in English and in Bosnian language. I was coordinating Diploma in Islamic Studies for 5 years. I was coordinator. I could tell you that through this program in English, many people from international organizations and embassies went through. Of course, we have our Bosnian people who are taking, not only Muslims, but also non-Muslims who are taking this course. Actually, we changed the name, Diploma in Islamic Studies, because people were confused. They thought that they will get real diploma, university diploma. So we changed the name. We call that program now Introduction to Islamic Teachings. First level, and we have second level. We have seminars, conferences, book promotions, extracurricular activities of students, tips section, memorizing Quran, courses of foreign languages. We have 3 foreign languages at the faculty. Arabic language, we have English language, and we have German language. German is optional, and we have lecturers, native speakers who come from Austria, United States, and mostly from Egypt to teach those languages, conversation. These are 2 sisters. Both of them are Hafiz al-Quran, Hafiz they memorize, and we have some students who memorize Quran by heart. This is students' journal, Lajak. They are producing this journal. Do you have students' journal here? Students' journal. Students are writing their, magazines. Okay, magazines. Okay. Students' store, you can see the they sing those traditional songs, Islamic songs, Ilahiya, Mevlud, yeah, Nasheed. Yeah. The night of the Quran, we have also this event, Mevlud, the meetings of young theologians, some events, Christian, Orthodox, Catholic, Muslims, visit the massacre places. We were taking our students to see those massacre places when, people discover those and open. And so on. And just about religious education in schools, I was talking a little bit about this. So, in 1994, we introduced officially professional religious education in primary and secondary schools as an elective subject. We have 5 separate religious curricula: Islamic, Catholic, Orthodox, Jewish, and Adventist. Islamic, Catholic, and Orthodox are performed in the schools. Jewish is in the Jewish community because they don't have enough students to organize classes in the schools. So, under this arrangement, religious communities prepare curricula and textbooks, and they should be just approved and recognized by the Ministry of Education. Religious communities also issue certificates for religious teachers in order to confirm their qualifications and suitability to teach. It's important to us because, we decide who will be teaching, not the state. We decide. We issue certificates. And religious teachers are paid by the states. That's good thing. This is very important law, framework law on primary and secondary education, and law on religious freedom that was passed in Boston Parliament. You can see when we established religious education in public schools, there was no alternative subject, only religious education, and international organizations mostly reacting on that because there are some parents, they don't want to send their kids to religious education. They should have an alternative, optional subject. So some courses are introduced. For example, in Sarajevo, if parents don't want to send their kids to religious education, Islamic, Orthodox, or Catholic, they could choose one of those: culture of religions or healthy lifestyles, But if I tell you that mostly from 85% or 90% of Muslim student kids are taking Islamic religious education, I am sure that you will be pleased to hear that. Only a few kids taking this healthy lifestyle course. I got these information data from the Ministry of Education in 2018-19 school year. We have to get special permission to take those data. It's not visible on their webpage. I had to ask for permission to take data because I was writing one article and I needed those data, and they provided me. You can see almost 85% of Islamic, kids are attending Islamic religious education. From 85 to 90. It's a huge number, great number of students. And there is increase. We can see it through the years, increase. In 2008, I told that it is introduced in some kindergartens in the Sarajevo canton, and it goes there. I'm preparing my students who are going to teach in kindergartens within the practicum. They go to public schools, and I'm trying to prepare them on the best way. Just to show that we have some qualities, that we have teaching skills, basic teaching skills to teach in a creative way. So it is accepted very well. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. If you have some questions, comments, I'm open. If I would answer, I will answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Dina, for this very informative and insightful strategic lecture. And I believe that as I also had achieved knowledge and many information about how the education structure curriculum has been shifted from the, I think, 12th centuries to today in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Despite having different types of situation and also challenges during war, after war. And in fact, one thing is very common, and I was very surprised to know about the Maktab system, Maktab. And I believe that almost all the Muslim countries are having the similar and traditional this system, traditional education system. And this is how the foundation of Muslim children are being established and built in our rural areas, in villages as well. So this is very important to know that still Bosnia is having the same structure and also the Maktab style. But I have some ideas just to share. I think the separation of Bosnian Madaris from other communities like Turkish and other issues, I think due to differences of Madari. If you go to Canada and Australia, you will see the Bosnian community, they want to uphold their nature of education and also the values. And German Muslims, they also want to do things separately. So this is also one of the issues. And it's very, happy. We are very happy to know that the influence of IIU and our graduates in Bosnia is strong and deeply rooted in the institutions and banks, in the universities as well. How we have seen the shift of the education system from the traditional informal system to formal system. How it has been shifted to the university curriculum, mashallah. So this is very nice to know, and thank you very much from our lecture from the participants and the university as well. Thank you so much. So we open the floor for question and answer. If there is any question from our staff and students, please. Yes, please.
The question is, first, since beginning I was not this, but just want to clarify with this. There's any kind of gulf or the distance between the religious education and the secular education. There's a two types of educational system which still exists, or it is being molded by the Ministry of Education into one. That I want to clarify first. The second, while you were mentioning about the Maktab, you mentioned about the attitudes of the mothers or their perceptions of the mothers. Those who are sending their children to normal schools, they don't expect from them rituals, Islamic rituals, while those who are sending their children in Makkah, Islamic rituals, they expect that. So, what is the factor? Is there any factor?
I didn't say that they don't expect that, not at all. They expect to some extent, but those parents who send to the Maktab also, they have greater expectations, and they most probably they are also practitioners and they would like their kids to be. We have so many Muslims in Bosnia and Herzegovina who are Muslims, have Muslim names, but they don't pray, you know. The good thing is that they want their kids to go to Islamic recitation classes, at least that, you know, to instill some Islamic values, to gain some knowledge about Islam, even though they are not practitioners. When it comes to the first question, you told you were not at the beginning of the lecture. We have different education. We have state educational system, you know, and within that state educational system, we have professional religious education as a subject, and kids didn't take that course, that subject. And what else is important to say? Madrasas are also financed by the state, but not the whole process, only the teaching part. Professors who are teaching are financed by the state, paid by the state. When it comes to the dormitories and accommodation, no, they are not financing that. Parents are financing that part. You know, so when they finance, they have some, you know, requirements, expectations, and so on. But maybe it's good. You know, it's easier for the Islamic community to have some support. And as Professor Mohammed noticed, we are trying to avoid some ideological influences from abroad. You know, we can find some good ideas and implement, but when it comes to some ideological influences, we are refusing them.
So you think 2,200 madrasas are centralized in terms of the curriculum?
Yes, they are centralized.
But
Yes.
the administration is a different.
Yes, administration. We have Muftiluk, it's how to say regional.
Region.
Yes, Muftis regional, and within that Muftiluk or region, we have Jamaats, you know, imams and so on. It is decentralized in terms of Muftiluk regional, you know, position.
So these makatib are, you know, recognized and so accredited by the universities. So like you
These are just
said, the
not
level
formal.
1, level 2, level
Yes.
3, right?
It is classified by the Islamic community, and these are non-formal institutions or basic religious education, non-formal.
So
Non-formal.
where they go after the graduation of level 3 when they're 15 years old?
I thought we need that program, you know, to work with youth. We don't have that. We have, of course, one office in the Islamic community that develops some projects to work with youth, but it's not structured as the mekteb, you know. When we have mektebs, of course, we have kids who are coming, not all of them coming regularly, you know, because it's non-formal, but most of them are coming. Some of them are not coming, even though they are, you know, entered. You know. They don't get official certificates and so on. But for the parents, for those parents for whom the mekteb education is important, they are trying to send their kids regularly during the weekends. Even in the cities, we have mekteb education during working days. You know, if it is a need for parents to have mekteb education in the late afternoon, for example, on Wednesdays, they would organize that even on working days.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Thank you. And thank you very much for this wonderful and very insightful presentation. And personally, I got to do so many things about this Bosnian Islamic education system. So my question is like in the beginning of your presentation, you say there are, so many Bosnian people nowadays, they are leaving the countries. So my first question is that, how many Muslims among them, they are leaving the countries? Because in Bosnia, there are Muslim and non-Muslim both.
And the second one, so as because this is one of the concern even from my country and from Bangladesh, because it's a common trend that the students and those who have the capabilities they wants to migrate. So, is there any initiative or visible initiative has been taken from the Bosnian government, and so that they can discourage people not to migrate or not to leave the country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Unfortunately, they are not doing good things, to stop this migration, unfortunately. We had 3 presidents, The only country in the world that has 3 presidents at the same time. One is Bosnia Muslim, another one is Croat, the third one is Serbs, And we don't function. The one party, one party has always the opportunity, to stop the processes. We want to be a part of the European Union, but Serbs always stop that process, and we cannot move forward. That's the problem, It's a huge problem.
Yes, thank you very
And
much.
not only Muslims, also other people are doing Muslims. But more Muslims.
Okay, brother.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Thank you for your nice presentation. My question is two. First of all, I want to make clarify myself. As you mentioned, in the time of war, 1992 to 2000, the contents of Islamic studies or Islamic educational concept, and people was interested to do like 70% Islamic educational contents and 30% in general. And now it's totally reversed,
Yes.
opposite. So what is the reflection of this, or you can say, what is the result of this? And second question is, now what types of major problems you are facing to spread Islam in Bosnia? Right.
What kinds of problems we are facing?
Yes. In terms of spread Islam in Bosnia.
Islam and Muslims. There, we still have problem like during the war. We still have
I didn't
problem.
understand this second
I
part.
mean, promoting Islamic
Promoting
values,
Islamic
education, are you facing challenges, and what type of challenges?
Okay.
What's the challenges?
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. Comes to the first question. It was the situation at the beginning of the war in 1993, 1992, when the curriculum was established. 70% was allocated to Islamic field of knowledge and 30% to other fields of knowledge. We have now the opposite situation, and it was the decision of the Islamic community in cooperation with the Faculty of Islamic Studies. The Islamic community decided that the madrasa graduates cannot work as imams anymore with only high secondary education. They need higher Islamic education. Because of the specific circumstances, people are well educated, and we need well educated imams, Of course, they can continue with studies at the Faculty of Islamic Studies or somewhere abroad if they study abroad. When they return to Bosnia and Herzegovina, their diplomas should be recognized at the Faculty of Islamic Studies. I was telling that this morning. And we also have some courses now and requirements that those students who graduated somewhere abroad, when they get back, they should take, I think, 6 more courses when it comes to pedagogy, psychology, didactics, history of Islam in Bosnia and Herzegovina, something like that, in order to have their diplomas recognized. We recognize some diplomas, for example, from Al-Azhar, from Medina, and so on, but not all of them are recognized. Did you understand now?
Yes.
Islamic community demand higher Islamic education in order to be an imam or muazzin. Another question, what are the challenges now?
Now you are facing.
We are facing in terms of
spreading Islam.
Of expressing Islam.
Yeah.
Expressing,
In Bosnia.
okay, in expressing Islam. It depends on where you live. If you live in Sarajevo as a Muslim, you don't have problem. you know, you can really move with scarf, you know, we enter faculties. Sometimes we have problems, you know, with some people. But when it comes to some positions in the state administration, in the state institutions, sometimes female who wear scarf have problems. For example, in the army, they cannot wear the scarf. When it comes to the judges' positions and so on, they have problems. When it comes to the, for example, doctors at the hospitals, they don't have problems. They can wear scarf. Those people who live in the Republic of Srpska, they have much more problem, you know, with the expression of this Islamic values and practices. And so there are some challenges.
Afwan, in addition, do you think that European culture is a bigger challenge for you?
European culture, no, European culture, we are part of the European culture.
Yeah.
We are nurturing Islamic values within European culture. We are European culture. We don't have that problem. We cannot just accept some ideas that are not compatible with Islamic teachings. Those ideas, for example, homosexuality, we have those problems. We are facing that on the streets. I don't know whether you have it here in Malaysia. They call that parade of pride.
Pride month.
They march, you know, to the city. We don't feel comfortable with that, but Islamic community came up with fatwa. No one has the right to attack those people because it could be problematic. But we don't accept this. It's not Islamic, it's forbidden, and so on. We have our very clear stand towards that, but with the message that no one should attack. It's not good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we need to conclude here. Okay, please. This is the last question. Yes.
My name is Sanna. I'm a master student in Islamic Thought and Civilization. We met yesterday.
In this time.
Yeah, in Islamic.
You were in Easter.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming today. Also,
I have a question that what are the challenges you faced during implementing Islamic pedagogy in Bosnia?
what are the challenges you are facing when it comes to the Islamic pedagogy?
During implementing Islamic pedagogy in Bosnia.
We don't have this when we implement Islamic pedagogy. But we don't have Islamic pedagogy as a course, you know, at secular faculty. We are under secular university, you know, our faculty, and we have department for religious pedagogy. We are preparing religious teachers who will be working in the schools. And they don't have problems, you know. Mostly they don't have problems. In some schools, maybe in Republic of Srpska, in some schools, it depends on the director of the school, you know, and the collective and so on. But mostly we don't have problems. When it comes to the religious pedagogy as an academic field, it is under the Faculty of Islamic Studies. It is not at the Faculty of Philosophy. They have department for pedagogy, but they don't teach religious pedagogy. We would love to have that also there, but we don't have. For example, in Croatia, in Zagreb, have you heard about Croatia as a country? It's neighboring country. They teach at the Faculty of Philosophy, they teach also course, religious subjects. But at Sarajevo University, they don't teach.
Thank you very much, sister, for the question. So, brothers and sisters, we are at the end of the session. Before we disperse, I would like to call upon Professor Dr. Shukran bin Abdurrahman, Dean of IHS, to present a token of appreciation to Associate Professor Dr. Dina.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, I saw this. Beautiful. Thank you very much. I hope that I will receive those photos. I would like to have one photo here with this audience, respect the audience. Because they were listening me 2 hours, you know. It seems that your lectures last 2 hours. When it comes to our country, public lecture lasts 1 hour, you know. But I saw according to the schedule that it lasts 2 hours.
We are used to it.
You are used to that. You are more patient than me.
I am used to 3 or 4 hours.
We are resilient.
Thank you so much.
Another example of patience.
Thank you very much.
Should it picture with the-
Yes, we will have a picture. And I should take to our Dr. Shihabuddin, excuse me. Shihabuddin, he arranged everything, he helped me a lot to come here.
All right.
I will give the same lecture on Friday. It will be the same on the concept of science. Yeah, close to the thing. Yes. One, two. Thank you very much. Thank you all. I'm really honored to be here and I had great time with you. I hope that this was useful. Thank you. Steve, inshallah, you both have to be in. Sorry. Yes, okay, yes, she told me. Thanks to her also. Thanks.
So thank you very much. I think we end here. There's a visit here in Kampala. Yes.
Thanks. Thank you very much.